The crypto market is about to explode. I know, how many times have we heard this on titles and thumbnails? It's going to explode, it's going to explode. Well, today I am going to give you irrefutable proof that it is literally about to start, and what you can do and what you should be doing right now to best prepare and maximize your profits into 2025. No, again, I'm not joking about it. I've got 4 different points of evidence here I want to take your attention to. A couple of them we've been over multiple times now, but I want to make sure everyone understands it. And most importantly, how to profit in 2025. It's different to what most of us think and believe based on what popular YouTubers might tell you, or what your preconceived, sort of ideas are on how to make money in a bull market, or how to make money in any investment at all. So let me take your attention now to the board, and you're going to see what I am exactly talking about here. Now, for starters, you channel OGs are going to know this chart already, but we're going to go into some different types of detail today, and I want to make this chart completely free. I typically do, right? Not all the time, but I'm going to make this chart completely free for you guys to go ahead, view, and use, because most importantly, I've kind of collaborated multiple different videos and charts from different videos into this single one here. And so you can actually go ahead if you want and watch my videos that describe each different section for you over here, because you definitely need to be in a full, complete understanding of what I'm talking about. And sometimes it is a bit hard for me to go through each of those things in as much detail as I could in a video specifically designed for that actual topic. So that being said, I want to give you 2 bits of evidence here as to why I do believe that it's starting, okay? And it's starting very, very soon. Now, most of us should already know, but of course, some of us need that evidence to actually go, okay, yeah, seeing is believing. I can see it now, because trust me, 1 minute HBAR is at 5 cents, 1 minute QNT is at $100, 1 minute Chainlink's at $5, and the next, they're double, triple that, and you go, oh my God, and then you feel FOMO, and then you buy in. Now, that's gonna happen, okay? It will definitely happen if you don't look at this stuff now, make the plans, follow the plans to the T. Simple. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. Pretty simple. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so this is something I actually touched on in last night's video, but we're gonna actually see here some pretty important stuff, okay? So on the 11th of March, 2020, right, we had the big C, that big virus, mentioned. And what happened to the chart actually was that we had like this sort of building, this momentum building here for the bull run. And then when it was it was actually mentioned down here, but there was news about it over here. And what did it do? Consequently, destroyed the market, and we quickly recovered, of course. Why? Well, because the halving was right around the corner, and people know the halving means the bull run starting. When the bull run starting, there's easy money to be made. So that quickly came down and corrected. I'll admit, this chart is definitely very zoomed out, so that's actually probably like a couple months there, but it's still definitely recovered quite quickly for how violent the drop was. Now, one important thing we have to remember here is that where we are right now in this phase of the bull market / bear market, right? We're actually right about here, okay? So what's gonna happen is we're definitely gonna find some sideways action up until this point right here. And then, okay, this big gray area, right? I believe we're gonna start finding our way up. Now, there may or may not be such an event like big C word, or it's gonna crash the market. And so I believe, given that this never happened, it would have looked something like this, all right? So it would have had a more of a steady incline. And I believe, considering that doesn't happen this time around, I believe it'll start to play out similarly, okay? So it'll be kind of like this, and then it'll start coming up, all right? So we have to, again, remember why this is important to prepare now, because, again, if you're someone who has some cash on the side, this is definitely the opportunity for you to have a look to see whether now is actually a good time for you to invest based on your ROI expectations. But I get you, right? I'd like to briefly interrupt this program with a very special announcement. Guys, if you wanted to support all the hard work I put into making these videos for you, then there's 2 links down below I'm going to suggest you take a look at. The first is a sign-up link to BitGet, which is one of the best exchanges in the space. These guys have a $300 million user protection fund and proof of reserve, so they're one of the safest exchanges and is the one I personally use for all my crypto investments. And for you non-traders out there, for you guys like me who prefer to invest and acquire the most important information and from the most reputable sources, then Token Metrics have also sponsored this channel, guys. They've offered you guys a free subscription to their basic plan, which is typically worth $20 a month, or basically $200 a year. So please, if you take your investing seriously and want the most up-to-date information, go check out the links down below, guys. I've got you covered, and thank you for supporting me. Now, with that said, back to the video. Some of you probably thinking to yourselves, hang on, what's he talking about? This seems crazy. Like, surely there's more evidence than that. Well, there is, okay? Now, I definitely didn't go into that in extreme detail. Again, I'll leave the link for you guys to go through and actually break down what I've got written here, right? The bear markets and the bull markets from the time of the halving to the time of the top, from the top to the next halving. This all is very, very similar in time frames, okay? So let me just quickly cover this really quickly. So you guys can see, for example, right, it's crazy because the last 2 times from the halving to the top of the bull market exactly with 548 days, not 547 rounded up or 549 rounded down, exactly 548 days occurred twice from the halving to the very top of the market. And the bear market, actually something very similar, 854 days from the top to the halving, actually 873 days from the top to the halving. So again, we're literally like, what's that, 19 days difference-ish. So it's very, very freaky how these things are playing out in very similar time frames. Yes, we ebb and flow differently, but we always end up in a very similar place, okay? And that brings me back over here, guys. And I'm going to tie this into why this is very important for you to know in just a second, all right? So this is something I've gone over probably 3 times now, but I need people to understand it, okay? This is another bit of evidence I've used here, and it's looking at, volume, 24-hour trading volume. Now, yes, I understand that 24-hour trading volume itself isn't a good metric to use in terms of, okay, the bull run starting or not, because volume can also be negative, right? You can have more volume because there's sell pressure. Generally speaking, though, I like to look at this as just general interest in the market. What we found from one of the first bull runs here back from 2016 to 2018 was that the bull run basically started way over here, about 14 months out. Demand started slowly picking up. Now, it's quite skewed, and that's why I've left out the interim period here, which is pretty much the run up to the bull market. Yes, this is all actually in a proper time frame here. So I've left out this information basically, again, because it's going to skew the 24-hour volume, because this will be like this, right? And this will look tiny. So I've tried my best here to make it look realistic. And again, we typically find that most volume picks up around here, 14 months out from the halving, and it really starts 8 months out from the halving, and then it begins to pick up, okay? And so again, we kind of fast forward over here to the last bull market, this situation over here, and what happened? Well, the same thing, right? The halving happened over here, and we saw 14 months out, started to pick up, and then 8 months out of the halving, it really started, okay? And so what this, again, means is essentially that, hey, we can kind of backtrack this to go, okay, well, maybe where we are right now, all right? That's kind of what I did over here. And so what we can essentially do here is, again, backtrack to find out where we currently are in this situation. And so what I found was February, we started to see a little bit of traffic, but I'm not going to, definitely say it repeated here. It might have rhymed a little bit, but I'm not going to call that an exact copycat. But where are we right now? Where does demand really start to pick up here? Well, again, 8 months out, okay? So in my opinion, well, we're about here, okay? We're at the start of August, right? And we have about 1 month to September, I believe, to kind of accumulate before that next halving, which is around April next year, which is again about 9 months or so, okay? So we have all this time for demand to start to pick up. And again, what did we find back on the original chart over here using something else to kind of track this? Well, I actually realized that, well, the market started picking up on the 1st of the 1st, 2020, 5 months prior to the halving, okay? And so if we kind of extrapolate that to current times, well, guess what? December 2023 is when the bull market should start to pick up. So if we kind of combine these two different things, these different metrics, I'm going to comfortably say around December this year, we'll definitely find the market picking up, and probably next month to the month after. So in the next 1 or 2 months, I strongly believe we will start to see prices slowly increase. Of course, there is a high chance we might have a black swan event where the market suddenly crashes, but will that play out? No one knows. That's a betting game, and so we want to be safe here. So what I'm saying is, you need to prepare. You need to prepare your last positions, because from what it looks like to me, it's starting to pick up. Now, if you want more evidence, well, don't worry, I've got more evidence for you. Now, some of you might laugh at this, and I don't blame you, because this sounds kind of crazy, but when YouTubers make videos, I'm going to kind of break the fourth wall here. We obviously put tags in the description, or tags in the actual tag section that help, when users type in, hey, how do you find crypto mining platforms, whatever, it'll come up, right? So your tags will be like crypto mining platform, so on and so forth. So when people type it in, your video will come up. Pretty simple, right? Well, I found recently that these tags are starting to weigh more. I have a few different SEO tools, and these tools pretty much help me figure out the best words to use in that case. And essentially, these words I've noticed started ranking higher and higher over the last few weeks. And I thought to myself, that's strange. And then we have Crypto Casey over here, another large YouTuber, recently hit 500,000 subscribers. And what she put in here a few days ago really interested me. What did she say? She goes, interest in crypto is going parabolic despite the bear market. She's gotten so many more subscribers recently. And I think I remember seeing her at like 300,000 not long ago, right? So she's getting a lot. Now, she's doing some good work, of course, but in saying that, this is kind of a notion I had in my head. And then seeing her post this, I was like, damn, she's noticing it too. All right, this is something I mentioned on my recent live stream, and it definitely caught my attention, right? So I'm starting to think, okay, I think as YouTubers, as people creating the content for people who have interest in that sort of subject, we will notice that coming in first. We'll notice that surplus, and I'm for sure noticing myself, okay? So now another tool that you definitely need to use, and it's completely free, is Google Trends. Now I know it might sound kind of silly, Google Trends, like that's pretty obvious, right? Well, yeah, it's obvious, but do people use it? Probably not as much as they should, right? So this chart over here goes back as far as pretty much the 1st of October 2016, so it does show that 2018 bull market. It also shows the more recent bull market as well. And what do we find, right? Well, in the bull market, of course, you can just simply type in Google Trends and look up the search term crypto or Bitcoin. Primarily, crypto is probably the best one to use here. And what do we find? Well, the peaks are obvious here, right? We had this first peak over here and it ranked 100 out of 100. And then we had this second peak over here where Bitcoin went up to about $69,000. And that, of course, ranked 91. So in my opinion, what we should be doing in the next bull run is obviously using this tool for a rough guide on when, kind of like this peak greed, essentially like the fear and greed index. And I think it goes without saying that if this gets anywhere above 90, I personally am going to sell. I don't care if it could go to 100. I don't care if it could break the damn chart. I'm getting my money out, especially if I hit my targets on my projects. Now, I know you might be thinking, Kyle, when is it time to sell our project? So when is this time? Well, again, I've actually made a video on this and you can go ahead and watch it over here, which is where I basically break down different narratives, right? Now, this is so important for all of us to understand because crypto doesn't have this one big massive peak, blow off top moment. All the altcoins got with Bitcoin and it all sells at once. It doesn't. It happens in different cycles like we can see in this examples over here. Now, I will go through these very briefly. I've again made that video. You guys can go ahead and watch. But essentially, if we kind of extrapolate the ADA versus BTC chart, we can find that, look, check this out. ADA actually had different times when it peaked versus Bitcoin. Okay, so over here, like Bitcoin peaked over this way. And the difference between ADA's peak and Bitcoin's peak, we're talking like 2 to 3 months here, right? So this might look very insignificant, but it's a long period of time. So if you are someone waiting for BTC to peak, ADA peaks, you're thinking to yourself, ADA's hit like $3. Oh my God, Bitcoin hasn't even peaked yet. Bitcoin's way down here at like, what's that? Like $45,000. It's going to go up to 100,000. You wouldn't have sold your ADA. You would have completely ignored all that hard work you put in beforehand to find out when to sell, okay? Because you would have hoped, again, hopium, for that sort of blow off top moment of Bitcoin and the whole market at once. And again, then you would end up panicking probably down here and selling your ADA at $2 rather than $3, or even worse, thinking it could go higher and selling down here at $1. Or you still hold your tokens. And I guarantee you a lot of you would be in that exact position. So narratives play a very important part because narratives give us clear indications, right? Clear channels as to when not just one project, but again, the whole narrative itself. So layer ones are potentially going off, or there might be a moment where essentially we have roadmap events or announcements that blow one project up individually. We have to be able to find these, and it's why I tell everyone that you must be spending at least 5 to 10 minutes every single day in a bull market on your projects, at least looking through your projects. I mean, Twitter, blogs, Medium, podcasts, AMAs, scanning, because if something like this comes out, again, you're gonna miss the mark, guys. I'm telling you right now, the warning signs are there. And so we come down to something like this, right? We come down essentially to where I've tracked and I've put the work in here and extrapolated all these different projects into their sort of narratives. We've got payments, layer one, Oracle, IoT, gaming, DeFi, so on and so forth. And this sort of little channel over here and these little boxes, it's just me finding when they had their narratives and then dragging it down. Now, these charts line up. If we kind of take the top of BTC and line them all the way down here, they will line up perfectly, okay? And you'll see they have different moments, right? Different narratives will pop at different times. For example, payments. Payments popped off over here. In the first run, they went nowhere near, went about half the way to the top in the moment when Bitcoin went to 69,000. Very important. Over here, what happened with layer ones? Well, kind of like Cardano, right? What happened with ADA? It popped off at a different time. It popped off, as you can see here, in the layer one season before BTC, just like the rest of its projects. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, you can see here, you do have different projects like Near Protocol. I use the example in this situation where there's situations where some projects don't follow this. For the most part, as you can see, most projects will. And obviously, if you thought that this narrative itself would have popped off in the first run, you would have been able, would have sold your tokens at a complete discount from where they could have gone to. Okay, again, same thing over here with oracles. You can have multiple runs, as you can see over here, but of course they all have different runs, and some projects have the benefit of being in multiple primary narratives where they can pop off multiple different times. Okay, but as you can see here, gaming very, very late, even past Bitcoin, DeFi very early on. Okay, so we can use this to do things like take profits, reinvest in other projects or narratives in the dip, in the big retracement we're likely to see, and then sell those other projects that didn't have quite a large narrative in the first run in the second run, if that makes sense. So this is a part of compounding. This is a part of being a quality investor. You have all this stuff sorted out, and to have all this stuff sorted out, you got to do something like this. Now, I touch on this in my exit plan for HBAR, and don't worry, I'll be doing one of these videos for pretty much every single one of the projects I hold and you guys hold. And what we can see here is essentially my strategy, right? So making sure we're taking the initial investment out at our predetermined price levels. Again, I've done the maths and I'm very comfortable. HBAR will minimum hit 69 cents. And then we're likely to see a retracement, okay? And then we can kind of have a bit of a plan, okay? So selling at strategic levels, and these must be sort of sorted out beforehand. You can't do this in the moment. Yes, you can do this roughly around the time this is sort of happening, and I would suggest that because you're going to have more accurate results than trying to find this now for the next 2 years. It's just going to have to change 100%. But this will give you a good idea, right? Selling at strategic levels, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, or 25, 25, 25, 25% of your portfolio, whatever it may be. You might even want to go 50%, 50%, whatever you're comfortable with. But once you found the narratives and you found this, you can then begin to backtrack, okay? You can then begin to figure out things like we loop around to the very start of the video again, okay? You can begin to look at this sort of stuff and think to yourself, okay, well, we can start to sort out tax. Right? What's happening with your tax? When's the last point you can buy in before you're going to get hit with capital gains tax? So this stuff is super, super important, guys. I know I skimmed through this very quickly. As I said at the start of the video, I mean, there's so much to cover in this type of video, and that's why I'm giving you this completely for free. And I'm also going ahead and giving you the links to my separate videos so you can, of course, absorb this all in your own time. Please, please don't, you're not doing me a favor by this, you're doing yourself a favor. Go ahead and research this sort of stuff now, because I guarantee you, you will be kicking yourself in 26 to 29. Be watching me again thinking to yourself, this dude is going to say the same things again, and my God, I better listen to him this time. I'm telling you right now. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please take this advice on board. Again, not financial advice, personal advice, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Take good care. Bye.